Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another narrated Pokemon Wi-Fi battle. Today's battle is a never-used match against an opponent by the name of KJLaw, who I battled on my live stream a couple weeks ago. In this battle, I'm using kind of a bizarre team, using some Pokemon that a lot of people don't ever really see, mainly Octillery, and this Octillery set that I'm using is sort of like a defensive-y, tanky set on this guy. Most sets I see with Octillery are just fully offensive, but I think this actually works really well, and it also gets a lot of support from this Shelgon, which is obviously going to be resisting the two weaknesses that Octillery has, while also being able to Wish Pass to it, since Octillery has no form of recovery. So I thought those two would work well together. Just using a few other Pokemon, Expert Belted Saucebuck, a Rapid Spin Stealth Rocking Armaldo, a Scarf Jinx, and a Toxic-y stalling defensive Muck, as my opponent is using a team based around Adventure Time, which is pretty cool, bringing Metang, Swoobat, Sawk, Weezing, Stoutland, and a Phanpy. So with that, let's just jump into this battle right now. So to start things off, I'm going to lead off with my Saucebuck, as my opponent leads off with his Metang. Now, seeing a Metang in the lead position, my immediate thought is that it's going to be a Violite and go for the Stealth Rock. So I was free to just go for a Nature Power / Earthquake first turn, but he actually surprises the heck out of me right here, going for the Rock Polish, and also revealing that instead of a Violite, he does have Leftovers. So now that he's +2, he's going to be outspeeding my Saucebuck, and I don't want to take a Meteor Mash. So I decided to switch out into my Octillery right here to resist the Steel-type move. It still does a good bit of damage. Metang obviously is no slouch in the physical attacking department, but this also is a more especially defensive Octillery as opposed to a physically defensive one. But either way, I know I could live whatever hit, a Zen Headbutt or another Meteor Mash if we wanted to go for it, maybe get an attack boost. But either way, I know that from that range, and knowing that Octillery is just a naturally powerful Pokemon, would easily be able to take out with a Scald on the following turn. Now, Octillery obviously does have access to some fire moves, but this one doesn't. But either way, he brings in his Stoutland right here, and I was 100% predicting the Retaliate. Wild Charge did not cross my mind, which actually stinks because I did lose quite a bit of health on this Armaldo, but it's still not enough to 3-hit KO me, so he has to switch out right here, and I see this as a perfect opportunity to set up my own Stealth Rock. Now, as this Weezing comes in, I'm immediately thinking Will-O-Wisp, and I really don't want my Armaldo getting burned, just because it doesn't really have a way of functioning with the burn on it. So I decided that switching out into my Shelgon right here would actually be a good idea to take the burn, because it is the only thing on this team that actually has recovery other than Leftovers, because obviously I have Wish and Protect on the Shelgon, as I mentioned before. Now this is a more specially defensive variant, so I'm able to take those Sludge Bombs pretty well, and rather than just Protect right there, I figured it would be a good idea to Roar just to shuffle things around, maybe get some residual damage from my Stealth Rock on another Pokemon. But I actually roar him out into his Sock right here, and I don't want to take a Close Combat or an Ice Punch. Kind of hoping he might have gone for Close Combat, but either way, because Close Combat's more powerful than Ice Punch was actually what I was thinking there. So I go into my Muck to resist that, but he actually goes for the Ice Punch, which does a really good amount of damage. I'm not sure if that was banded or not, but I really don't know. This Muck actually has a pretty good decent amount of physical defensive EVs, so I really don't know if that's normal damage or not. But either way, I just go for the Toxic, but he switches in his Weezing, obviously being a poison type. It is going to be immune to that, and then expecting him to just Will-O-Wisp, I go back out into my Shelgon, and here we are again in the same situation. And because I can't technically touch him because I'm burned and only have Dragon Claw, and Weezing is extremely physically defensive, and because he can't technically touch me because I can Wish Protect all day, he eventually switches out into his Phanpy because he sees it as a perfect opportunity to set up a Stealth Rock, seeing as you can see right here that I can't really do too much damage with these Dragon Claws, especially because I'm burned and because Phanpy is also physically defensive. But I take this opportunity now to switch out into my Saucebuck, predicting him to go for the Earthquake, because that's more powerful than Ice Shard, but yet again, he goes for the weaker move and makes it looks like it's a really cool prediction, because it's actually super effective against my Saucebuck. But either way, knowing that he wants to switch out to not take a Horn Leech, I actually just choose to go for the Return instead, as he switches out into his Swoobat to resist that, but Return is actually going to one-shot it very easily. That crit did not matter at all, which is really cool to know. But now is the turn that I expected him to predict me to go into Armaldo, so rather than predict the Retaliate, which is what he actually goes for, I go into my Weezing, my Muck, which unfortunately dies. But as you can see before, because he has that Weezing around, Muck can't really do anything because it is a Toxic Staller, and I obviously can't Toxic Stall Weezing because it's a Poison type. But he just goes for the Retaliate again, but because this is the turn that After something died, Retaliate lost its power, and I go for the Wish right here, and knowing the Protect is extremely obvious, I finally see this as the perfect opportunity to go out into my Octillery to Wish Pass off the Wish into, so I can get this thing at a good range of health, because I really want this Pokemon around, as having a powerful special attacker that can also take hits is very useful. But because my Shelgon no longer really has much use in this battle, I decided to sacrifice it right here to this Sock, which is going to actually give me a perfect opportunity on the following turn to switch into my Jinx, which is Scarfed, so it will outspeed Sock, even if it is Scarfed as well. So I have really no worry about going for Psychic right here. So I choose to just do that right now. It does a good bit of damage to this Phanpy, but because it has access to Ice Shard, I did not want to stay in, because if I got hit by an Ice Shard, that's one less switch I can have in on battle, because of the fact that Stealth Rock obviously takes away 25% of my health. And he actually surprises me here that he doesn't even go for it. He goes for the Earthquake as I switch into my Octillery to take that, and then he doesn't go for Ice Shard again as I leave my Octillery in to take it out, which just was very surprising. But either way, I was glad that Jinx did not take a second hit, which was my goal in the long run anyway. But here he brings in his Weezing, and it obviously has Thunderbolt right here, but because, as I mentioned before, this is a more especially defensive Octillery, and as you can see, that Scald did a lot of damage for a non-invested Octillery. Let me tell you, this Pokemon has some power. But either way, I could have lived 2 Thunderbolts, but he actually opted to go for Sludge Bomb there, just in case I might have switched out. But either way, I'm actually getting a huge amount of damage off on this Weezing, which is incredibly important, because as I said before, Muck couldn't handle it, Armaldo can't handle it, so there are very few things on this team that can handle this Weezing, so bringing it down to this low range of health will potentially allow my Saucebuck to handle it later in battle if I need to. But I decided to just bring in my Jinx right here. Hopefully he might have switched out or something, but he decides to leave in his Weezing right here, which is going to allow this to go down, which is really good for me because that frees up some opportunity for my Saucebuck to do some work. But he brings in Stoutland again, and now me predicting Crunch, or predicting Retaliate again. He actually goes for the Crunch, which turns out to bite him in the butt, because as you can see right there, if he went for Retaliate, my Saucebuck would have died, but instead I live with 5 HP and I'm able to get off a really good chunk of damage in the form of Return on the following turn, which is now leaving it in KO range for my Jinx to now go for a Psychic, and all he has left on this team after the Stoutland goes down is this Sock, which I obviously said before will outspeed because Jinx is faster than Sock, and if we are both Scarfed, Jinx still wins. So super effective Psychic is going to be enough to take this Pokemon out, giving me the victory in the battle. So that was it for this video, everybody. Thank you KJLaw for the battle. I will link his channel in the description as he sent it to me over Skype, so if you guys want to check him out afterwards, I hope you do so, because he's a really cool guy and it was a ton of fun to battle him. But anyways, that is it for this video, everyone. So as always, make sure that you are subscribing and following me on Twitter and on twitch.tv. As I always say, I try to live stream at least once or twice a week, so I hope to see you all over there. But that is it for this video, everyone. So as always, thank you for watching, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.